Adi Love, Adi Emi, those pioneers. And then, of course, not forgetting my great uncle, Oyo today, Uncle Francis Ladele, who, was one of the greatest pioneers in Nigerian films. So after that, we went to, work. I left Serikaf to my friend Wale Fanu to start main film production. It is not a company that provides technical services, but, to produce. And from day one, we had a mission statement, and we said we will promote and preserve our cultural heritage. So that in a nutshell is what I've been doing.
So when you look at that, and you now look at the industry today, the industry that you came from, the likes of Adelov, the likes of Hubert Ogunde, the likes of Obasala, who will sit there and they will craft their art and make it so beautiful and wonderful and show the beauty of our culture. And you look at what we have today, what goes through your mind when you see some of the things that we have lost?
No, what goes through my mind is this excitement, because let's face it, the process of making film was very expensive in another technology, and so you can say that we were excluded. A few bold producers tried to find the money to do it, but you see, the process was that you bought everything you imported everything from England or America, both cameras, the films, the laboratories were outside, and so on. And in most cases, producers imported the expertise, but it is very exciting because we used to do a class in London Film School called Third World Cinema and looked at Africa's contribution to cinema. And Nigeria was not taken seriously, because we didn't have anything to show. But the advantage of new technologies, new ways of making movies, empowered Africans to tell their own stories. It made the technology affordable and available. So within a space of about 40 years, that situation changed, that in any international film festival, Nigeria will be considered because Nigeria, because of certain factors, are able to give the country or Africa this brand, that today Nigeria has become, sort of a major player, not a major player, but significantly a player in global cinema. So we are not there yet, but we have the foundation to get there.
So would you say that we have gained massively as a result of the technology that
because
has become...
of the democratization of technology and certain spirits, entrepreneurship of Nigerians, who have seized advantage of what technology can offer, and started an industry in private enterprise that, was not funded either by government, corporate, but by the sheer Nigerian spirit of doing it, gave the world another brand of filmmaking that all African countries and diaspora are looking at Nigeria as a role model.
So huge accolades are being piled on what we call Nollywood today. That is one of the most amazing development coming out of the African continent. What's your position on Nollywood?
Well, Nollywood, it's good. It's giving Nigeria publicity, recognition, and all that. But Nollywood today is facing serious challenges.
What are those?
The challenges of development, because Nollywood was possible in a country, that lacks everything. It's amazing that people could make something out in a country that cannot make electricity, that cannot make roads, that cannot make water, but yes, Nollywood have to find its own way, and a direction. But, that's as far as it can go, because our people are more conscious, the whole world is waiting, that this is a fluke, and we need to take it from there. The problem about Nollywood is we are rated as perhaps one of the largest filmmaking nations in the world, but it is good, but we must recognize that they're saying that in terms of quantity, and they're saying that in terms of mediocrity, and they're talking about how to measure professionalism. But that's all right. because we can do something about it. And there's a lot of consciousness on the part of both federal government and Lagos. I can tell you specifically that in Lagos State they started a project that's called Nollywood Upgrade, because at the present moment the challenges of Nollywood, is that there are evil forces that are out to destroy Nollywood. For instance, piracy has been left unchecked. None of us, can release another movie because it will be pirated within 24 hours. And the pirates have set the ceiling so low at about 15 naira, so we cannot compete with the piracy, so we cannot compete with pirates, and therefore if care is not taken, we will lose, all the, the euphoria, the success that Nollywood, has made. And then, of course, the way out is to restructure. And that is why Lagos is looking at a Nollywood Upgrade project where they're going to start with training and provide the infrastructures. To give you an example, if we are compared with America, and they're saying we are second largest in the world, and you can see that if you look at population per cinema, America has one cinema to 8,000 people. And India is about maybe one cinema to 100,000 people. But in Nigeria, our population have one cinema to 3 million people. In other words, we need the infrastructure. We need institutions. So, Lagos State, for instance, is there as a pilot scheme, might build cinemas in our communities. So those are the things that we need. In India, recently, we had a visit to India, and they're saying that they have 13,000 cinemas. And it's a shame that Nigeria, with a population of about 160 million people, have less than 100. So the challenges is that to make Nollywood what it should be, we have to try and convince government, investors to come, and establish those neighborhood cinemas.
So I would like you to please explain to me the logic which was put forward at the time that cinema suddenly all died in Nigeria. At that time, they said it was because of the video that came along. But there's also video in other countries. Video is running. The cinema is also running.
Yes.
Maybe you can give me a more acceptable explanation.
No, it was not just the video. Our people are just very intelligent, and they are versatile and adaptive. Otherwise, our career came to an end because at the introduction of structural adjustment program by the military government of that time, none of us could continue. I went to London Film School when £1 was, was like 1 naira. And I remember, our ticket to go to London was only 300 naira. But by that time, when that program was introduced, there was a time when our uncle was making a movie at that time. The budget was 3 to 1. That is 3 naira to $1. That was the project. That was the budget before they went to production. When they started shooting, within a month, it had gone to 8 to 1. And by the time they finished shooting the film, naira had really gone down to something like 25 naira to $1. So what it meant was that they were actually spending the post-production money while they were shooting. So that film never came out. What is the exchange rate of the naira to dollar today?
150.
So we couldn't continue that way, So we at the time, and I give kudos to the traveling theater people approaching from that point of view, went into reversal stock, which the television stations were using, and continued for a while before that was exhausted. So they had to turn to another technology of video, which I appropriated. Some of my peers never attempted it, and it was a question of continuing my career and continue to tell the stories. I will use any technology to do that, So I never regretted it, So it is interesting that within that period, most of the films that was shot with celluloid are lost. But from the point when the technology changed, I can tell you that we have managed to preserve most of the work that we have done. So the technology worked in our favor. We're lucky Just like saying that today the teledensity of